The chill that settled over Aethelgard Valley in 1284 was more than just a seasonal shift. It was a foreboding weight that pressed down from the mountain peaks. Nestled deep in the foothills of the Austrian Alps, Aethelgard was a village built on resilience, its history etched in the weathered timber of its cruck-framed houses and the quiet determination of its people. They were accustomed to harsh winters, relying on centuries of inherited knowledge and the rhythm of the land. Yet this year, the first snowfall arrived with an unnatural ferocity, a blizzard that sealed them off from the world within days, suggesting a winter of unprecedented brutality. Ilara, the village leader, carried the weight of Aethelgard on shoulders barely past 20. Since her father's sudden death, she had governed with a calm practicality that belied her youth. Standing at her window, watching the landscape disappear beneath an endless cascade of white, she felt the familiar anxiety of leadership sharpen into a cold dread. The snow was a tangible barrier, but the real threat was the silence it brought, isolating them not just physically, but spiritually. On the third day of the unrelenting snowfall, a cry from the village perimeter broke the silence. A figure, exhausted and near collapse, was found by the guards. Wrapped in frozen furs, the man gasped out his identity, a merchant named Thomas from a distant village. His story, however, was not of commerce, but of desperation. He spoke of a swift, merciless plague that had decimated his home. He had fled, seeking refuge, unknowingly bringing the shadow of the disease to Aethelgard. The news plunged the village into a profound, suffocating fear. The cold was a known enemy. The plague was a phantom, unseen and unpredictable. Ilara immediately placed Thomas in the newly reinforced granary, converting it into an isolation chamber, a difficult but necessary decision that isolated not only the merchant but also the community's trust. The fear of contagion, amplified by the isolation of the blizzard, began to fray the edges of their unity. Ilara knew that mere survival would not be enough. They needed to thrive through the winter. She convened the Council of Elders, their faces etched with the wisdom of countless hard seasons. Their counsel was clear. They must not rely on modern supplies, but on the accumulated wisdom of their ancestors. The key, they insisted, was not just heat, but efficiency and ingenuity. The elders guided them to the core of their survival, the hearth. They reintroduced the technique of fire banking. As the sun set, villagers meticulously covered the embers of their fires with layers of dry ash. This wasn't merely a way to preserve warmth, it was a ritual of conservation. By morning, a simple breath of air and a few twigs could reignite the fire, saving precious wood and ensuring a constant, though minimal, source of heat. The sound of the crackling fire, soft and rhythmic, became the heartbeat of Aethelgard, a subtle yet powerful reassurance in the quiet of the snow. Next, they addressed their homes. The thatched roofs and timber frames offered little defense against this unprecedented cold. Ilara organized the villagers to apply wattle-and-daub, a technique where woven branches were packed with a mix of mud, straw, and dung. This laborious process, a communal effort of mud-caked hands and shared labor, created a dense, insulated layer that trapped heat. They also sealed every crack with dried moss and reeds, transforming their dwellings into tight, warm refuges. The villagers worked until their fingers were raw, their breath misting in the cold air, driven by the urgency of survival. As the winter deepened, the crisis shifted from cold to hunger. The isolation meant no new supplies, and Ilara's careful rationing of the granary began. The elders taught them about deep storage pits dug into the frozen earth beneath the floors, which maintained a steady temperature, protecting root vegetables. They also emphasized fermentation and salting, a complex, time-consuming process that preserved meat and vegetables. The air in the homes filled with the sharp scent of brine and souring vegetables, a smell of survival. The most difficult aspect of this winter was the psychological strain. The unrelenting snow, the constant hum of fear regarding the merchant's illness, and the gnawing hunger created a tension that threatened to fracture the community. Disputes over rations and rumors about the quarantined merchant spread like wildfire. Ilara had to mediate constantly, reminding them that their shared fate depended on mutual support, not suspicion. In the height of the cold, they turned to an ancient, often overlooked survival strategy: human-animal cohabitation. They brought their most valuable livestock, particularly the dairy cows, into the side sections of their homes, separated by simple wooden dividers. This was not a pleasant arrangement. The smell was strong and the animals were restless, but the heat provided by a single cow was astonishing, acting as a living insulation barrier and supplementing the meager warmth of the hearths. The rhythmic chewing and soft lowing of the animals became a strange, comforting presence in the homes, a testament to the symbiotic relationship between humans and nature. The communal hearth house became the emotional center of the village. It was a place of shared warmth and shared stories, where the villagers gathered for communal tasks like mending clothes or repairing tools. They engaged in group activities that generated collective body heat, a simple